See, it's very easy here to give a concise statement of what the pattern of use is. It's not easy here to give a concise statement of what the pattern of use is. But presumably, I'm not sure about this, but presumably in both cases, something like Wittgenstein's general point will apply, that your understanding of what this pattern of use is has to be explained by reference to what you do in particular cases. That's to say, if you had to explain to someone what these general schematic things mean, you'd have to say, well, for example, if I say Raleigh smokes and Isaac fishes, then I'll conclude Isaac fishes. Or if I know Isaac fishes and Raleigh smokes, I'll conclude that Isaac fishes and Raleigh smokes. So you just have to give examples. And that will be true presumably for these cases too. You just give examples to explain what the general schematism means. So presumably these formulations of patterns of use will be subject to Wittgenstein's point that they can only be explained and understood by giving examples. Yeah. Here ends the second lesson.
That was a yes.
That was a yes. That's right. You're not meant to be just writing down my answers. My task is to formulate the problems. Your task is to sort it all out. Yeah.
We do have to like it. Can we go back to the beginning
Did I get it wrong after all?
I'm just wondering about someone who says that all we actually need is to understand that people will tend to make inferences according to whatever will preserve the truth of
According to?
whatever will preserve the truth of falsity of.
That's right, yeah.
And all we need is that rather than any knowledge of more specific patterns of use to be able to derive patterns of use from the truth table.
Well, I don't really see how you're going to do the derivation without. I mean, there's got to be something important to write about the idea that the truth table shows how these rules of inference are proof preserving. Yeah, the truth table just spells it out for you line by line, how this run. And I mean, this is the simplest example you could possibly have. Yeah, but for any even much more complex examples, the same general point is you get truth at the inputs, you get truth at the outputs. Yeah. But Wittgenstein really throws out that insight, it seems to me. He doesn't leave you any way of acknowledging that that's an insight. And the argument is, if you just say schematically, I want my rules of inference to preserve truth. Yeah. In a particular case, you've got to do the explanation for why these rules of inference preserve truth. And in giving the derivation, in giving the explanation, you will actually have to use lots of principles of inference. I mean, the simplest thing to begin with is you're going to have to say, if you have A and if you have B, then you can conclude A and B. So, or going back to the truth table, you'll have to say, if you have A and if you have B, well, let's look here, these both true, then from the truth table, see, all that if-then reasoning. So you're just using the rules of inference, so if-then, yeah. I mean, another way to put it is, you know the story of Lewis Carroll's, Achilles and the tortoise, yeah? So Achilles and the tortoise run a race, and Achilles crosses the line first, and Achilles turns to the tortoise and says, look, I won, and the tortoise says, no, I don't see that, you didn't win. And Achilles says, look, I crossed the line first. And the tortoise says, yes, that's right. And Achilles says, well, if I crossed the line first, then I won. And the tortoise says, yes, that's right. And Achilles says, so I won. And the tortoise says, no, I don't really see that. And so Achilles says, look, here's the truth table. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but Achilles says, look, here's the truth table. Look, so you accept the truth table for if then. Picture, if you will, the truth table for if then. Yeah. And Achilles says, look, I crossed the line first, right? And it's also true, and the tortoise says yes, and Achilles says, so it's also true that if I crossed the line first, then I won. And the tortoise says yes. And Achilles says, and look, here's the truth table. And the tortoise says, yes. And Achilles works through all the lines, and the tortoise says yes to all of them. And then Achilles says, so I won. And the tortoise says, no, I don't see that yet. And the point is that if you don't get the rule of inference, then no amount of assenting to the truth table. You know, Achilles keeps saying things like, well, look, logic will take you by the throat and force you to accept the conclusion. And the trouble is, it really doesn't. Right? You think of logic as a truth table. Unless you already get the rules of inference, the truth table can make you do nothing. The truth table is silent, really. Yeah.
Right, so, yeah, I mean, really, but we're taking pattern of use to be basic. We're not taking that to be somehow prior to explaining the truth conditions.
We're not taking it to be prior to explaining the truth conditions. That's what I mean by taking the pattern of use as basic. Let's talk about truth. And Wittgenstein's picture, as I read him anyhow, yeah, I mean, all this is up for negotiation, but as I read Wittgenstein, his picture of truth is, the notion of truth is that it's completely peripheral to any discussion of understanding and meaning. If you want to say what truth means, it means something like this. You've got a sentence P, then P is true, is the same thing as saying P. And that's it. It's not an explanatory notion. It's the best notion you might use when you can't be bothered repeating the whole of P. Yeah, as you know, someone makes a comment, and you say, yeah, what he said. You can't be bothered going through the whole comment yourself. Yeah? Or if someone makes a comment and you say, that's true, it's just you can't be bothered repeating the whole thing. It's a useful shorthand term, but that's all truth is. Yeah? There's nothing fundamental about it from the point of view of understanding meaning in this picture. So that's the same thing as throwing out truth tables as basic to an understanding of the signs. Saying that A is true is just another way of saying A. Yeah. Okay, so what's a custom then? If we've got the patterns of use, and you want to say the patterns of use, you can go right or wrong in your use of a sign, then what do we get from Wittgenstein what a custom is? I'm just going to, I think all I can do really is give you a sense of what he means by custom. I think it's very tantalizing and it's not a properly spelled out notion. If language is to be a means of communication, there must be agreement not only in definitions, but also, queer as this may sound, in judgments. And you naturally think with language, look, all that matters is that we all define our terms in the same way. We don't have to agree about any particular case, so long as our definitions of the terms are all the same. And his point is, if you think about something like the example add 1, we've really all got to agree in the particular examples before we can be talking about taking the successor of a number at all. You couldn't make sense of everybody agreeing on the definition of add 1, but disagreeing about whether 3 comes after 4 or 4 comes after 5. Your understanding of add 1 only comes because we have all our agreement on the particular cases. You naturally think of semantic value, as someone just said, giving a foundation for your use of the term. And here's the general negative point here. How am I able to obey a rule? If this is not a question about causes, then it's about the justification for my following the rule in the way I do. And if I've exhausted the justification, then I've reached bedrock and my spade is turned. When you ask, why do you derive A from A and B? You can't appeal to a truth table to explain why you do that. You just do it. The best you can say is, this is simply what I do, or you might say, this is the way of my people. And that's all you can say is the justification. Justification stops at a certain point. It stops sooner than you might have expected. I have, well, yeah. It is when I obey a rule, I don't choose, I obey the rule blindly. And the idea of, how should I say, sighted following of the rule is that you see the thing, you see what kind of thing it is, you match that up to your knowledge of what the term stands for, and consequently you apply the term. That's a natural way to think of working with a word like red. You know what red is, you've got the image in your head, you see the object, you ask, you see it, you say, is that red? And then you match it up to the image in your head, and if it matches, then you say, yes, that's red. And the point is to throw out that kind of image of what's going on when you say that something is red. All that happens is you see the thing, and you say, that's red. There's no vision, the sense in which vision didn't really come into it. We talked about these passages a little bit last time. It's what we call obeying a rule, something that would be possible for only one man to do and only once in his life. Well, no, because you don't have a background of definition or semantic value. You've only got a pattern of use, and it doesn't make sense to talk about a pattern of use being exhibited just once. Actually, time is getting short, so I'm going to... when you think about how he's using the notion of custom, it connects up to something like our form of life, to ways of using terms that we could pick up from each other, part of what Cavell called our whirl of organism. So it's natural to think, well, what is that? How do we make more explicit what he means by the whirl of organism within which we have customs or practices? To obey a rule, to make a report, to give an order, to play a game of chess are customs, uses, institutions. To understand a language, understand a sentence means to understand a language. To understand a language means to be master of a technique. So the kind of analogy you might have here would be something like a carpenter using a chisel. It's not that you need to have in your head, a good carpenter needs to have in their head a whole bunch of rules for using a chisel. It's that using a chisel is part of mastery of a whole bunch of tools, and the ability to use those tools isn't to be explained in terms of you being able to say or having some images as to what you do. It just is being able to use them well in context. There are two really tantalizing examples here. One is, think about this case. It is, of course, imaginable that two people belonging to a tribe, unacquainted with games, should sit at a chessboard and go through the moves of a game of chess, and even with all the appropriate mental accompaniments. So you come across these two guys in a clearing in the jungle, and they're at a chessboard, and they come from people that just don't have games, and they're going through all the motions of a game of chess. And they even, as he says, have all the mental accompaniments. One of them is saying, yes, yes, he's on the run. The other one is saying, oh no, boy, am I in trouble. And they have all the mental accompaniments. If you were to see it, if you just wandered in upon this scene, you would say they're playing chess. But I take it the point here is the lack of a context means that they couldn't be correctly described as playing chess. This is not part of a general custom, what they're doing here. And a way to see what is wrong with taking it to be part of a general custom is to say, imagine a game of chess translated according to certain rules into a series of actions which we do not ordinarily associate with a game, say into yells and stamping of feet. You could do that, right? You could just translate the game, each move in the game, into a particular kind of yell, a particular kind of stamping of your foot. And I suppose that what happens is you come upon two people in the clearing yelling and stamping instead of playing chess. And you say, look, I've got the video, I can do an analysis of what is happening here, and I can translate this all into the moves of a game of chess. It's true these guys don't have games in general. They're much more serious than that. But I can show you I can translate this into a game of chess. Nobody would take this seriously for a second. Yeah? The mere fact you could do that you'd come upon this shouting and stamping, and you said I can translate that into chess, that wouldn't make you at all inclined to say these guys are actually playing chess. So as you come upon people making the moves on the board, the translation into saying this is chess is simpler, but it's no more justified to say this is chess. And one reason for saying it's not chess is you couldn't pick up from these stamps and yells how other people, other humans could not pick up from these guys how to go on with the stamping and yelling, how to have further games of chess in terms of stamping and yelling. You've got something with chess we can pick it up from each other. We know how to go on after a bit. Just as we're learning add one, when you get a certain number of examples, you know how to go on. You can do the thing yourself. These guys, if they're stamping and shouting, you couldn't pick up how to go on from them. If humans actually did not try, if you had someone who said, let's not play regular chess, let's just do it in terms of stamping and shouting, that would not be something that you could teach other humans in the way that we teach ordinary chess. People couldn't pick it up and get the hang of it in the same way. Imagine someone using a line as a rule in the following way. I think what you've got in mind here is something like this. You've got a line here, and you've got a pair of compasses by which, it's something like this. Is this right? Is it? You don't have to tell me. I think this is something like a compass. It's got a pair of, there's maybe a pencil here, and a pencil, and a spike here. Is that right? That's a compass, yes. So you put the spike along here, and you put the pencil along here. And so someone says, look, this is what I'm doing. This is the way of my people. Here's my way of going on with a particular example. So he holds a pair of compasses, carries one of its points along the line, while the other one is drawing the line that follows the rule. So this is like the rule governing the use of the language, that line along there, and the compass is like, where the line is going is like your use of the word in particular cases. But let's suppose, while he moves along the ruling line, he alters the opening of the compasses, apparently with great precision, looking at the rule the whole time as if it determined what he did. So you've got someone who's very carefully going like this. Yeah? And you say, yes, look at that, yes. And he's muttering to himself as he does it. And you say, I can't see what you're doing there. Watching him, we see no kind of regularity in the opening and shutting of compasses. Or we cannot learn his way of following the line from it. Here, perhaps, one really would say, he thinks he's got a rule here. The original seems to him to intimate which way he's to go. But it's not a rule. So a custom is not something where you just have a lot of uses of words in particular cases, we've given up the idea that you know the semantic value of the term, so you just have uses of the word in particular cases. This kind of thing, where someone uses the word in particular cases, but you can't pick up from them how to go on, that doesn't count as a custom. If instead of saying, if I say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, after a bit, you can pick up from me how to go on. If I shout 97, 3, 400, 21, 82, right, I can do this for quite a while, and at no point are you going to be able to say, now I get it. Now I can go, or rather you might, but what you've got was you could do anything you liked next, right? As opposed to 0, 1, 2, 3, or this is red, that's blue, and so on, where you can pick it up. So something about a custom is not just that you've got uses of the term in particular cases, and no semantic foundation, is uses of the word in particular cases, and there is such a thing as getting the hang of what someone else is doing, getting the gist of it, so that the thing can be communicated, so that other people can learn from you what you're doing. You need something like that to have a custom. Okay, on Monday, we'll look at Kripke's interpretation of Wittgenstein and all this. Okay.